Hello travelers, I'm Chris, welcome to LoreSpire. Today we're going to be taking a look at Rogue Trader and its alignment system. And I would just like to start this off by saying that in previous Owlcat titles, the Pathfinder ones, there was of course an alignment system, and I'm sure we all understand why that was there. It's required for that. But I also think that most of us would agree that it was somewhat limiting and basic, and that even at its best, it was slightly annoying or even irrelevant, and at its worst, it was just downright frustrating. Okay, now in the Rogue Trader Alpha, there was no hint of an alignment system, and I was cool with that. Like, I was down, no alignments, that works. Okay, but then whenever I started up our first live stream of the beta, I came to this here, and as you can see, there are three options in this dialogue. And one of them is for Imperialis, the other is for Hereticus, and the last one is for Benevolentia. All right, and whenever you look at it and you take a second to think about it, it's like, okay, alignments are back, aren't they? And, well, the answer is technically no, they're not. They're not back because Owlcat is calling these convictions. A bit of tomato, but whatever. Practically speaking, yes, there is an alignment system in Rogue Trader, at least in beta right now. I would expect it to stay. But if that's bad news to you, don't worry. I've also got some really good news to counter that. And that news is that there is a hell of a lot more depth here to the Rogue Trader alignment system than there ever was in either one of Owlcat's Pathfinder titles. Here we have the summary page of the character sheet, and we can see everybody's convictions right here. There are three different types of convictions. We have Hereticus, we have Imperialis, and we have Benevolentia. And there are 5 different levels for each conviction. They're all the same: follower, adherent, votary, radical, and then zealot. Okay, now we can start off, let's start off with Adira. She's a level 1 follower of Hereticus, and Hereticus is the devotion to the corruption and taint of the warp in the form of submission to the basest and darkest impulses of the soul, or as a consistent worship of the ancient gods of the immaterial. Now, she's a psyker, so this makes sense for her alignment. But she's not like some chaos-worshipping cultist, so she's only a follower and not a zealot. Now, if we take a look at, say, Argenta, we can see that she is a votary of Imperialis. Definitely makes sense for her character. Imperialis is the belief in the holiness and infallibility of the laws of the Imperium. Adherence to the precepts of the Corpse Emperor... might have earned some Hereticus points there, God Emperor, and the Holy Chosen Ones, carrying out his will to the unreasonable masses, hatred to the enemies of mankind, be they traitors, heretics, xenos, or servants of chaos. And last, we can look at Abelard, who is the only Benevolentia in the party, at least to this point. And we can see that he is an adherent of Benevolentia, which is the belief in the value of human life and freedom, faith in the power of goodwill, capable of overcoming the horrors and dangers of the universe without artificial prohibitions, the desire to seek a common language, and a compromise instead of uncompromising destruction. So basically just being a decent, good, reasonable person. That's what Benevolentia is, and given that this is the Warhammer 40k universe, yeah, it makes sense. We're not going to see very many Benevolentia adherents or followers or just convicted persons. If we look at our player character, we can see that we, of course, have access to all 3 of the different convictions, and whatever choices you make as you progress through the game will give you points in those convictions. And what I think is really, really cool here is that you can see that you can get more, or you can have points in multiple convictions. You can be convicted in multiple ways. A follower of both Imperialis and Benevolentia here Okay, and I would imagine if we'd made any heretical decisions, we could be hereticus as well. So you can have all three convictions, okay, and you'll have different levels of them based on how many of those decisions you've made. I don't think you'd ever be able to get to like a zealot in all three, so that you could wear any gear. Oh yeah, by the way, some gear is restricted by your conviction. We'll get to that soon. Anyways, don't think you could ever get like to zealot in all of them, but I do think it's definitely reasonable if you could be, say, an imperialist radical and then still be, say, a votary of benevolentia, because you're generally always going to side with the imperium. But if it does not go against the imperium's interests, then you respect and value life, and you're much more likely to save it if you can, something like that. As far as I'm aware, with companions, they cannot get multiple convictions. Their conviction does not change. They're all at the conviction level that they started with. Now, I do believe, or at least hope, that as I start doing companion quests, I'm only at the beginning of Act 2, by the way, but as I start doing companion quests, I'm hopeful that I can increase their conviction levels or even decrease them. I think that it would actually be really, really awesome. It would give us a lot of, power to decide how the characters or companions turn out, which is really what these CRPGs are all about, right? We want to be able to affect change in the world and in our companions. So it'd be really, really awesome if we could get, say, Argenta here up to a zealot of Imperialis, or we could get her to be maybe a votary of not only Imperialis but also Benevolentia based on our actions. And that doesn't just affect the story, because remember I said gear. And if we look at gear, we can see this right here. Okay, requires Benevolentia adherent to wear. All right, if we look at this over here, it requires Hereticus to wear. So there's some gear that's restricted by your conviction. All right, so if we could, by whatever means, change the convictions of our party members, our companions, then it would actually not only affect the story, which is awesome, but it would also affect the way that we could build our party, which is also very awesome. Just another layer of tactical depth there whenever it comes to party building, or I should say strategic depth whenever it comes to party building, who's in, who's out, stuff like that. One other thing, as long as we're looking at items, if we go over here, say to weapons, not only are some items restricted by what conviction you have, but some items will be better or worse based on them. Like if we look at this sword here, anybody can use it, but if you are of the Hereticus conviction, it is better than if you are not. The one last thing that I should say here or mention is that in dialogue throughout the game, there are times where you will be barred from choices based on your conviction, or you'll be allowed to make choices based on your conviction. Like there's some times where you might have to be an adherent of Imperialis in order to make a certain decision, and you do not have the option in dialogue to make that decision if you're not an adherent. That's about it for convictions. Hope that this helped you understand the system. Hope it helps you build your party, plan your character. Hope it helps you get excited. There's a lot of depth here to this system, at least for what it is, an alignment system. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're going to be bringing you a ton more content for this game. This has been Chris with LoreSpire. Be well, my friends.